Hello, Shelley from Spin Cushions here, and this time I'm going to teach you how to make this pretty simple square called Banda from my Siren's Atlas collection. All the details on spincushions.com. So it's really easy. I'm going to be doing mine in just a single colour. So the first round is actually just like a granny square. I'm going to start with a magic circle, or you can start with chain 4, then join that chain 4 into a loop. So first stitch is chain 3 as a starting chain or a false stitch like I like to do. Then 2 more stitches, trebles UK, doubles US. Then we're going to chain 2, 3 stitches, chain 2, 3 more stitches, goodness me, 1, 2, 3, chain 2, and 1 more lot of 3 stitches. 1, 2, 3. Now I'll just pull this magic circle tight, and you'll be able to see I have 1, 2, 3, 4 groups of 3 stitches and 1, 2, 3 2 chain spaces. Now if you're changing colour, you would chain 2 and join with a slip stitch here. I'm not changing colour, so I'm going to show you my little trick to make things look as seamless as possible. So I've just poked a scrap of yarn into the gap between those 2 groups of 3 stitches. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to chain 1, and instead of joining with a slip stitch, I'm going to insert my hook into the top of this false stitch, or will be the top of your chain 3 if you did that. I'm going to join with a double crochet UK, single crochet US. So I've pulled a loop to the front, then I'm going to yarn over and pull through 2. So what that does is it puts us as if we're in the middle of a 2 chain space. Makes it just a little bit neater. Okay, the next round is very easy, just double crochets UK, single crochets US. The first stitch is over that joining stitch, so that's where this scrap of yarn is. That's why it's there, to show you where to put your hook. Then we're going to do a stitch in the 3 stitches along the side. 1, 2, 3. Then our corner is going to be 1 stitch, chain 2, 1 stitch. So very simple round. I'll show you how to join up at the end. Okay, so I've done all of my repeats. I'm back. I just need to finish off this round by doing a stitch in the same place as our first stitch, which is where that stitch marker is. Just poke your hook in there. Now I'm going to move that stitch marker up in between that stitch we just made and the first stitch. And if you're changing colours, chain 2, join with a slip stitch. You don't need the stitch marker. If you're not changing colours, chain 1, and again join with a double crochet UK, single crochet US to that first stitch. Okay, next round, chain 3 starting chain or a false stitch. Then we're going to do a stitch over that joining stitch, which is where that scrap of yarn is. Next, we're going to do a stitch in the next stitch, a treble UK, double US. Then we're going to, we're doing a mini repeat. I'll just start again. So twice we're going to do this little repeat. We're going to do a treble in the next stitch. Then we're going to chain 1, skip 1 stitch and do a treble in the next stitch. So that's 1 little repeat. Chain 1, skip one is our little repeat, and then we do a stitch in the next stitch. And in the corner, in that 2 chain space, we do 2 stitches, chain 2 and 2 stitches. So do a little repeat twice, which is a stitch in the next stitch, chain 1, skip 1, stitch in the next stitch, chain 1, skip 1, stitch in the next stitch. We finish the round and then do our corner. So I'll keep going around and show you how to finish off. Okay, I've done all of my repeats. Now I just need to do 2 stitches in the same space as our first stitches, which is where that stitch marker is. 1, 2. I'm going to move that little stitch marker, and I'm going to, if you're changing colours, chain 2, join with a slip stitch. If you're not changing colours, do the same again. Chain 1, join with a double crochet UK, single crochet US. Right. Okay, our next round is another double crochet or single crochet round. So first one we do a stitch over the joining stitch where the stitch marker is. Then we do a stitch in the next 3 stitches. 1, 2, 3. Then we do, so we're basically doing a stitch in every stitch and a stitch in every 1 chain space along the side. And in the corners, in the 2 chain spaces, we're doing 1 stitch, chain 2, 1 stitch. So a pretty easy round. I'll come and show you how to join it up. Alright, repeats are done, so now I just need to do a stitch in the same space as our first stitches where the stitch marker is. I'm going to move that. You can either chain 2 and join with a slip stitch if you're changing colours, or if you're not changing colours, continue like this. Chain 1, join with a double crochet UK, single crochet US to that first stitch. Okay, round 5. We are going to chain 3 starting chain or false stitch, a stitch over the joining stitch into that where that stitch marker is. We're going to do a stitch in the next stitch. Then we're going to chain 3. Oops. 1, 2, 3. Skip 3 stitches. 1, 2, 3, and do a stitch in the next 3 stitches. Trebles UK, doubles US. 1, 2, 3. Now you know you're in the right spot if that middle stitch is above that stitch there. We're going to chain 3 again. Skip 3 stitches. 1, 2, 3. And do a stitch in the next stitch, which should be the last one of the round, of the row, sorry, of the side. So that's our side, and in the corner, that 2 chain space, we're going to do 2 stitches, chain 2, and 2 stitches. So there you go, that's our corner, and that is our side. I'll keep going all the way around and show you how to join up this one. Rightio, repeat's done. So all we need to do now is 2 stitches in the same space as our first stitches, which is where that stitch marker is. 1, 2. If you're changing colours, chain 2, join with a slip stitch. If you're not, then you do this. Chain 1, join with a double crochet UK, single crochet US. Okay, next round is a double crochet round again, like this one here, or a single crochet if you're in the US. Corner, we're going to do a stitch over our joining stitch, where that stitch marker is, a stitch in the next 3 stitches. In each 3 chain space, we'll do 3 stitches, 1, 2, 3, and in each stitch we do 1 stitch. In the corners is 1 stitch, 2 chain, 1 stitch. I think that's fairly straightforward, so I won't show you everything. I'll just come and show you how to join up at the end. Okay, so repeat's all done. All that's left to do for this round is a stitch in the same space as our first stitch, which is where the stitch marker is. If If you're changing colours, chain 2, join with a slip stitch. If you're not, we just do the same thing again. Chain 1 and join with a double crochet UK, single crochet US to that first stitch. Okay, the next round, it's still quite easy, but it's just the longest instruction, but you'll be able to do it, I am sure. So chain 3 starting chain or a false stitch, a stitch over the joining stitch where the stitch marker is. Okay, stitch in the next stitch, chain 1, skip 1, stitch in the next 2 stitches. These are trebles UK, doubles US. Chain 2, skip 2, 1, 2, and we're going to do a stitch in the next 5 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You'll know you're right if you're sort of centered above. Chain 2, skip 2, stitch in the next 2 stitches. Chain 1, skip 1, stitch in the next stitch, and that's our side. Our corner is 2 stitches, chain 2 and 2 stitches in the 2 chain space. So there we go, that's our corner, and that is our side. I'll show you how to finish this round off. Repeat's done. Just need to finish this round off by doing 2 stitches in the same space as that first stitch is with a slip stitch, with a stitch marker, sorry. Then if you're changing colours, chain 2, join with a slip stitch. I'm not, so I'm going to do the same as we've done every round. Chain 1, join with a double crochet UK, single crochet US. Okay, another short round again, double crochets UK, single crochets US. We start with a stitch over the joining stitch where that slip stitch is, and we do a stitch in every stitch, 1 stitch in 1 chain spaces, 2 stitches in 2 chain spaces, stitch in every stitch, and the corners are 1 stitch, 2 chain, 1 stitch. I'll just show you one little side. So 1, 2, 3, 1 in the 1 chain space, 1 in the next, each of the next 2, 2 in the 2 chain space, 1 in each stitch. I think you get the idea. Not hard. I'll come back and show you how to finish off, and we're nearly done. Rightio. Repeat's done. All that's left to do is a stitch in the same space as our first stitch, which is where that stitch marker is. If you're changing colour, chain 2, join with a slip stitch. If you're not, chain 1 and get out of the way. Join with a double crochet UK, single crochet US, and we have one more round to go, which is just a simple double crochet round or single crochet round. A stitch in this over the joining stitch where the stitch marker is, a stitch in every stitch along each side. There should be 23 along the side, and in each corner, same as last round, a stitch, 2 chain, 2 and a stitch. So I'll work around and I'll show you how to finish off. Okay, so I've done my repeats all the way around, and now all I need to do is to do a stitch in the same space as our first stitch where that stitch marker is. Get rid of that now. Chain 2, join with a slip stitch to our first stitch. Oops. Fasten off your yarn, weave in your ends, and there you have Banda. So as you can see, it's slightly bigger in my Bendigo Woolen Mills cotton than my Cascade Ultra Pima cotton, even though they're equivalent yarns. But if you need to adjust for size difference, you can either leave off that last round if it's a little bit too big, or you could, if it's a bit too small, add another round. If it's a bit too small, you might just be able to block it to size 2. So there you go. I hope you've enjoyed that one. I think it's quite a quick and easy one. And I'll see you soon. Don't forget to visit spincushions.com for some more crochet fun. Bye.